watching News at Prime. Juniour Khumalo, good evening to you. And let's pick up on some of the key points for you that came out of that inquiry today. Let's begin very early in the morning when the testimony is sort of pressing ahead with the identity of the witness withheld and indeed the processes in between to make sure that that person is shielded. What happened?
A very eventful start to this morning, Xoli. As you've already indicated, the Commission finally agreeing that the evidence leaders, as well as those two media houses, News 24 as well as Daily Maverick, that had basically lodged an application to stop the in-camera testimony that the evidence leaders had actually requested. Basically, those two parties getting to an understanding and finally agreeing that the witness today will actually be testifying, and the witness will be testifying out of sight, remotely, not at this venue that we are in today. So that witness was testifying with the aid of an intermediary who was actually listening to the witness and basically conveying the message that he was sending. But that was abruptly stopped when there was this scare that actually happened before the Commission. As you may remember, the last time around when we had the head of intelligence, Mr. Khumalo, that testimony on its own as well came to an abrupt end before it even began when Mr. Khumalo fell ill. This time around, there was that scare when it comes to the testimony of Mr. X, or Witness X, as he was being called, or they were being called, actually, to be more appropriate. So there was that abrupt ending also to that testimony. So this brings to question, Xoli, then whether other witnesses will be willing to come to the Commission, especially given these security challenges, as well as the infrastructure challenges when it comes to the testimony, because there were a lot of questions coming into today, especially given that testimony is going to be given remotely, whether this Commission actually has those capabilities to try and deliver such a testimony. But someone who's also been watching this testimony with us is Aldred de Klerk. Thank you so much. You've been here since the morning and just listening to what has been going on. But talk to us about this threat that happened today, as well as the threat that happened to the head of intelligence, Mr. Khumalo. Does this then threaten those that are willing to come forward and give testimony?
Absolutely. You couldn't have summed it up better. The thing is, the whole country is anxious to know what's going on, but also anxious to ensure that those who provide testimony are actually safe and secure, and they can do that without any threat of violence or recrimination against them. Today, we saw something that is quite unusual when it comes to jurisprudence or understanding how the minds of our justices work, where Justice Madlanga lay out in a document that was then made public what informed his ruling to go the route of the remote in-camera working through an intermediary. The only other best secure way to do this is not to involve any kind of technology, any kind of relay, and have it completely behind closed doors with the evidence leaders and the witness providing testimony and cross-examination in real time, and then they come back and they tell us this is what they've learned.
Indeed.
That's about it. That's the least problematic way to do it.
Okay, but we saw those two media houses then coming and say, but this is a matter of public interest, because we're talking about police officials who serve the public, who are being accused of being in cahoots with some of the hardened criminals when it comes to South Africa. So what does what happened today then do to that application that was made? Because we knew that from the get-go, there was no agreement when it comes to the testimony that is going to be given on Thursday and on Friday, because the evidence leaders still wants that testimony to be behind camera. So does what happened today then give them much of a say to say, this is what we're trying to avoid? So we want that testimony to be in camera and not have the media there.
Well, you know, and if I was a conspiracy theorist, I may say maybe this was done deliberately. I doubt that. I think the integrity of the commission, integrity of the judge is beyond question. I think they're trying to balance out what's in the public interest and how they fulfill their mandate without compromising the safety of witnesses. The difficulty is we knew that the terms of reference of the Commission allows for in-camera testimony. Commissions around the world, and I've looked at the Scarman Commission, I've looked at other commissions around the world, allows for this to happen. In fact, it allows for parallel receiving of affidavits and for interviewing of client groups or constituencies while mainstream things are going on at the same time. We're trying to do one through one vehicle, and that's where the Commission themselves do that. Now, when we talk about the resourcing of the Commission, it might be that the Commission have their own investigators, have their own junior and senior counsel that goes and gets affidavits, get deposing affidavits, and we get to know none of that, but it becomes part of what informs them giving us a more fuller picture further down the line. That is par for the cause for commissions.
Indeed, indeed. Thank you so much, Aldrin de Klerk there. Xoli, just speaking to us about some of the events that happened today, but also another big question, Xoli, that was raised given the testimony that was being delivered by this witness X. They seem to then take over from the evidence that was being given by General Dumisani Khumalo. So it asks the question on what is Khumalo's condition. Will we see him come back to this commission? So many questions still up in the air, Xoli, but what we know is that we are not going to continue tomorrow. We are actually going to continue with the commission on Thursday. But for now, back to you in studio, Xoli.